Friday the 23rd of May, I'm in the London Assembly buildings with BNP Chairman Nick Griffin. Nick, what have you got to say to us tonight?
Well, really to say thank you to all the BNP members and supporters and donors who helped us get in this building. A few months ago I was stood outside down over there with Richard Barnbrook having photos taken for the election material on the basis that we wanted to get in this building, and here we are. So I know you've just done a piece with Richard about the very good work he's already doing here. We've had quite a long meeting with staff and key volunteers about where we're taking it from here over the next few months. Our campaign theme over the next 6 months is rolling back the Livingston years, and we've got this mental image of Richard as the electorate's cattle prod, where Mayor Boris Johnson is saying he's going to cut politically correct spending and so on, but we know perfectly well he'll only try and cut a few highlighted ones and cut Labour Party jobs. He's not going to be out there slashing the swathes of bureaucracies and quangos which are there mainly at London taxpayers' expense, almost exclusively for the minorities, and implicitly Johnson has promised to do something about that. We don't believe he will, so we're going to prod him. If he responds and he cuts those things, thereby rolling back the social Marxist revolution that Livingston put into place in London, if he does that, it's a good thing. If he doesn't, we'll be at a point at the next election and the one after that, to the Tory voters in outer London especially, look, you thought when you voted for Boris Johnson you were getting a Conservative. Actually, you've got another dripping wet Liberal Cameron clone, and they've done nothing to reverse the tide of anti-British, anti-white Marxist social engineering in this capital city of ours. So we were discussing those kind of things, very constructive. Before we finish, let's just take a moment to give people, it might be a bit jumpy, but a little bit of a side of what we can see from up here. We're on the 9th floor. If you go right the way around, Simon, you can see St Paul's Cathedral, unfortunately almost dwarfed these days by the temples to Mammon that are nearby, but you see the dome over there. That's the famous dome back in 1940. It was a brilliant photograph of that, absolutely surrounded by flames, as basically the whole of the city in the East End of London went up in flames during the German Blitz, and St Paul's survived more or less by a miracle. It's Wren's magnificent cathedral, built after the earlier Great Fire of London. Coming on round just down here in the river, HMS Belfast. I think it's the last of our World War II destroyers. It was almost broken up and scrapped. It's now a combination of tourist place, and also there's actually a sea cadets or naval cadet school based on there in the building next door. So it's very, very worthy, and thank heavens it wasn't broken up again. A reminder of the days when Britain still made the world sit up and take notice. Behind that you've got the City of London, a whole series of monstrous buildings, the NatWest Tower, the biggest one, Forster's hideous gherkin thing, all, like I say, that's really the Temple of Mammon. The building I like though, generally I loathe modern architecture. If you look at the one called the Minster, which is right in the middle of this lot, which has sort of got hints of, I don't know, Gothic architecture and medievalism about it, and I think that for a modern building in the City of London, that's actually quite a fine piece of architecture, isn't it? But it's rather overshadowed by some of the other most bizarre things around it. If you come on round and down a bit, you've got one of the most famous sites in, I suppose, all of Western Europe really, the Tower of London, William I's fortress to keep the rebellious Anglo-Saxons under control. There was a small Saxon fort there before. The whole area goes back to Roman times, but it was built by William the Conqueror and extended and expanded upon by all various kings and queens ever since. The Ravens are still there, so Britain's not going to fall yet. Tower Hamlets, by the way, which if you go past the Tower Bridge here, this wonderful iconic piece of Victorian architecture. Tower Hamlets sort of between here and down to Canary Wharf. That was called Tower Hamlets, obviously related to the Tower of London. And the Isle of Dogs, which is down that end of the river as well, the dogs so named were the dogs of the kings and queens, and it was where the kennels for the royal hunting dogs, when the monarchy lived in the Tower of London there, it was where their dogs were kennelled. So it really is, this is history, this place. Absolutely wonderful piece of our capital city. There's some hideous architecture. The place isn't what it should be, but I still think it's a place that all our people can be and should be justly proud of.